Hey, Shalom Bakim. First and foremost, call the law Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rikakwadash. And of course, once again, double honors. Go out to the apostles of Great Millstone, alright, who through the Spirit have taught all of us his truth and who deserve double honors. This is Naaman, the DC camp. And I just thought I'd post this video here. I ran across this. Video is called Rules Former Presidents Have to Follow. Some of it I knew, a lot of it I didn't. But this just goes to show you the lengths, alright, by which these devils will go through to represent this wicked ass country. Alright. It's going to cover things that they have to do while they're in office and also after they're out of office, which includes the rest of their lives. Alright. Yeah, so you got to ask yourself, who would willingly volunteer to go through all this? And there's got to be some more that promise them the perks, more or less. Hell, it's got to be really worth it. And we also have to know that these special interests that they're beholden to, meaning obligated, alright, for help getting them in this office, the highest office in the land. But you also have to know that this is not the end all be all. There are people above them, alright? And a lot of our people get distracted by all the pomp and circumstance surrounding the president of the U.S. He's just an individual, alright? And wouldn't it be funny, alright, we just finished the November 2020. All right, everybody's still like coming down off of this, at least for the ones that think Biden won, and that's what all the news says now. But we're finding out some things, after the fact, as arrogant and pompous and nutty that our Trump is, he may have might be some truth to what he's saying. We don't know. But we know that Biden definitely is with the agenda of the elites. Trump was bucking the system, more or less. All right, so they're going to have to get him out of there one way or the other. Just putting that out there. All right, so let's go ahead and start this. Again, let's get some scripture. You have to realize that, like I say, these people are just representatives. They're tools of the elites, mainly the banking families. They're the ones behind. They're the real power. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And when you go into that word device, all right, that's an idea, a thought, malicious, usually, in this case. Strong's, well, let's go ahead and let them say it.
Strong's G 3540, Naima.
All right, a mental perception of thought, an evil purpose. All right, what do you think they have all those meetings, these think tanks, Bilderberg groups, CFR, all that? All right, it says that which thinks, the mind, thoughts, or purposes. All right, intellect. All right, so you got all this, and they're coming up with plans on how to control the people. Lately, the last 7 to 8 months now, it's been that COVID-19. That's not about a virus. That's about controlling the people. All right, so let's go ahead.
Doesn't mean you can now do whatever you want. From driving cars to using cell phones, these are the rules that former presidents have to follow. One of the greatest perks of being president is not having to deal with traffic every day. For one thing, you've got drivers who can take you anywhere you need to go. And for another, the Secret Service can block off traffic for you to ensure your security. It's no fun for anyone else on the road, but hey, you're the president, and you have important things to do. There is a downside, though. Once a president's term is over, they can never drive a car on an open road again. The reason is because of the lifetime Secret Service detail that all ex-presidents get. After all, one of the least safe places you can be is on the road, and that's just under normal circumstances. Add in that ex-presidents are always a target, and things get even hairier. So, to ensure their safety, they're not allowed to hit the road. As George W. Bush explained to Jay Leno, he's only allowed to drive on his own private property, far from any reckless drivers or people who wish him harm. He must be driven everywhere by Secret Service agents trained in evasive and defensive driving maneuvers. The rule was instituted after John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963. Lyndon B. Johnson was, to date, the last president to drive on.
Which, they talking about JFK, which wasn't by an outside force, so to speak. That was in-house. Alright? So, which begs the question, alright, you got all this security for this individual that's leading the nation. Well, why not stay out of everybody's business? Alright? See, this country has done a lot of dirt to a lot of people. So, of course, they would be paranoid. Alright? They make it out like, well, we're this shining city on a hill and everybody worships it. Which they did, but it's not for the reasons that they would have you believe. Alright? You got to understand, once you understand foreign policy and what this country did to other countries, alright, to get a foothold in their place for their resources, it's the same old pattern down through the ages. Alright, they just get a little more sophisticated with it. Alright?
Public roads. One of a president's most important duties is to be aware of any potential threats to the security of the United States. These briefings are carried out constantly throughout a president's tenure, even multiple times a day if necessary, because the world is always changing and threats can come up unexpectedly. You'd think former presidents would no longer need to be bothered about such things, since they're retired from the job and are now private citizens, but you'd be wrong. They continue to receive national security updates for the rest of their lives. Not necessarily because they're expected to actively do anything about them, but just in case they have advice they can offer the current administration, or if they get asked about the situation by the press. Even if being president isn't their job anymore, they still need constant updates about what's going on. This actually became newsworthy in 2018 when President Donald Trump allegedly threatened to revoke Barack Obama's access to national security briefings. According to Newsweek, President Trump was rumored to be unaware that former presidents received the briefings and had to be informed that this was normal and nothing to be concerned about, though Trump later said these rumors were untrue. Whether or not it really happened, the story shined a light on just what kind of access ex-presidents have to day-to-day information about the country's security. Have you ever noticed that
commercial?
You know what season it is? Bathing suit season? No, handsome twin season. Handsome twins
I'll just mute it.
in bathing suit season.
Have you ever noticed that everyone who serves as president gets a library named after them when they leave office? There's a good reason for this. It's a law. The 1955 Presidential Libraries Act established that each president would oversee the creation of a library in their name. While having a library named after yourself is definitely a cool perk, presidential libraries are a little different. They contain every non-classified word a president has written in office, even the stuff that may not be so good, such as Bill Clinton's library in Little Rock, Arkansas, which features information about his impeachment scandal. They're not allowed to keep certain materials out of their libraries, as anything created during a president's term is legally considered to be public property. This was decided after Richard Nixon attempted to leave out materials regarding the Watergate scandal.
The lights are off and they must be looking for a fuse box or something, because them flashlights, they're keeping me awake.
The individual presidents do have some control over how much a certain subject is featured, though. For example, George W. Bush's library in Dallas, Texas, does mention his invasion of Iraq, but instead of shying away from it, the materials on display defend his decision to go to war. We all assume that the government is listening to everything we do these days, especially after numerous scandals have come up in the last 2 decades where the government was caught doing exactly that by surveilling U.S. citizens without a warrant. The intelligence community has since tried to clean up its image by being more transparent about this, and it now requires warrants in many situations. However, the Secret Service often gets exceptions to these rules in cases relating to the security of current and former presidents. For example, according to The Hill, the Secret Service got an exception to warrant laws regarding so-called stingray devices that can monitor the location of cell phones, with the Department of Homeland Security arguing it was impractical to require them to obtain warrants to monitor the president and other important individuals. While this particular device doesn't monitor the contents of communications passed by the phones, this is just one of many techniques that law enforcement can use for surveillance. And the Secret Service has pretty sweeping jurisdiction over keeping former presidents safe, whether that's from threatening phone calls, suspicious tweets, or anything in between. Routinely monitoring a president or former president's communications is an invasive but necessary activity the Secret Service has to undertake to ensure the security of those they are sworn to protect. Former president...
Finding out if you have food sensitivities is...
Salakia once again.
Former presidents don't have much privacy, and those snoopy Secret Service agents even get to paw through their mail. An ex-president's regular old snail mail and packages must be examined by agents before they can be delivered. That may sound like overkill, but they've caught several dangerous deliveries by doing this, even as recently as 2018. According to Bloomberg Law, the Secret Service successfully identified explosives en route to former Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, among other VIP targets. And it's not just a random agent shuffling through and opening the ex-president's mail on the way back from their mailbox. It's all screened off-site by trained security staff with knowledge of dealing with explosives, dangerous chemicals, and so on. Every mail piece is meticulously examined for any possible threats to the former president. What's more, the Secret Service agents aren't the only ones keeping an eye on ex-presidential mail. The United States Postal Service also gets in on the act, as they monitor any suspicious packages sent through the mail, no matter who they're going to, through a program called Dangerous Mail Investigations, which sounds like a show that CBS will be picking up any day now.
It is my opinion that it is utter nonsense.
Every so often, you just need some alone time. People take walks, seek out a quiet room, or whatever they need to find a little peace and quiet. If this is you, becoming president might be a bad idea because you're literally never alone, and that continues even after you've left office. Secret Service detail is a 24/7 thing. And former Secret Service agent Jonathan Wackrow described presidential protection to NBC News as, quote, the most intrusive thing that anyone could ever experience. Basically, you're constantly surrounded by people you barely know, and since agents can be swapped out or moved around, ex-presidents are likely to be surrounded by strangers for the rest of their lives. And these agents don't take a break when things aren't going well, like when there are arguments between spouses. Agents are even with former presidents during holidays. Imagine not being able to eat Thanksgiving dinner without a bunch of people in black suits posted up nearby. This actually happened to Donald Trump when he was president-elect. When he and his family sat down to holiday dinner at Mar-a-Lago, more than 150 Secret Service agents were there too, since all of his family members who were in attendance had Secret Service details of their own. Being one of the most powerful individuals in the world might seem like it would include the ability to do, well, pretty much anything you want. This isn't necessarily the case. Because of that 24/7, 365-day-a-year Secret Service detail, it's hard to be spontaneous. If a regular person wants to pop down to Starbucks and get a grande French vanilla latte or whatever, they just head that way, get their coffee, and get on with their day. Due to a former president's large Secret Service detail, though, anything they want to do, even normal everyday stuff, becomes a huge undertaking. Think of something you like to do every day, like taking a walk or going out for dinner. Now imagine you have to do that thing with an entourage of strangers disrupting everyone around you for the rest of your life. For example, President Barack Obama made a Starbucks run while he was still in office, and it ended up with the Secret Service blocking off much of the street and moving pedestrians away from the president. The president even asked the Secret Service to give him a little space, just a small indicator of how frustrating constant security must be. Speaking of President Obama, he was a pretty notorious fan of playing games of pickup basketball, something he spent a lot of time doing while in private life and as a senator. Once he became president, though, the Secret Service told him that they needed 4 hours notice before such a game, which President Obama wasn't terribly happy about, according to NBC News. So, what's a former president to do if they get sick of all these rules and stipulations they have to follow? Why even be president president if you don't get to spend your retirement years doing whatever you feel like, right? Well, there's a way they can get out of having to deal with all this and go back to how things were before they took office, by declining the Secret Service detail. As it turns out, this is an actual option. The Secret Service only protects those who accept the protection. If a former president or anyone else with security detail waives those protections, they're free to accept responsibility for their own safety and security, or maybe hire their own private security that might be willing to let them do more things without restrictions. Former President Richard Nixon actually did this in his later years, though the reason he gave was to save the government some money, according to the New York Times. Then, in 2017, President Trump's son, Donald Jr., willingly declined Secret Service protection, as reported by the Times, citing privacy as his reason for doing so. While the Secret Service heavily discourages protectees from choosing to do this, it's absolutely an option if a president ever wants to drive their own car again. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more.
And that's just the thing. I'm going to stop it right there. It's basically over, but this gives more thought towards these individuals being selected for the job than elected, all right? Because you got to consider, like I said, there are people pulling the strings up old now. What's the guarantee? Like you had this guy that Trump, that's still the president, even though he's a lame duck now. But being the, what's the word I want to select here? Maverick, I guess. Loose cannon, whatever have you. They really didn't have the control over them that they liked, or at least that's the appearance. All right, because this COVID thing really, in my opinion, it exposed that chasm between the elites, and you got to understand, Trump at heart is a businessman and he's a patriot. All right, so it would appear that some of the things that he was aware of, he didn't really want to go along with, namely this locking down the whole country for some BS. All right, which he knew, and it was on his face. All right, and you see how he acted once he was diagnosed with COVID. All right, he just like blah, blah, like nonchalant, because he knew it was bullshit. All right, but the thing is, you people don't realize that, goes to the dumbing down of America. You believe anything these people tell you to be gospel truth, and you're being herded towards this vaccine. It just came down to New York State wants everybody to get the shot in New York State now. How long do you think before all other states follow suit? Which surprised me, because usually it's from the left coast, California, to the right. All right. But along with this, for time's sake, I'm gonna have to wrap it up. But these are the things our people, talking about Jake, you're so enamored with the glitz and glamour, you're overlooking the fact that you're being screwed over. These elites want that new world order. Some guy overseas, I forget who it was, he even came out. He did a, what do you call that? Freudian slip. All right. And you had the girl behind him like, what the hell did he say? I can't remember who it was. But this is what, they do these things in stages. And that's where a lot of our people get caught up. Of course, they're not going to come out and tell you, well, this is what we're doing. You're going to have to get this shot, and that's going to lead to the chip. No. They're doing things in a I guess you could say for them, well thought out, and it's going in stages. And you're going to have to make a choice. All right? So let's see. Let's see, I already read 2 Corinthians 2:11. Let's Satan should get an advantage of us, but we are not ignorant of his devices. All right, let's go to Psalms 73. Because these are the people that you look up to. They don't give a damn about you. This is Psalm 73:2. But as for me, this is verse 3. It says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." These people are wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. Their eyes stand out with fatness, they are more than heart could wish. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. What do you mean you oppress? Get a job, etc., etc. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his people, wait a minute, and they say, verse 11, how doth the Most High know? And is there knowledge in the Most High? Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world, they increase in riches, and they will continue to do so. All right. All the more reason why they're trying to get this universal income. Have you release, or let me retract that, having you forego any ownership of personal property forever. See, these things are coming. Everything digital. This man is trying to become the Most High. 2 Thessalonians 2nd chapter. He's being revealed for what he is, so he's trying to hurry and get his plan in effect. Alright, so with that, for time's sake, I'm going to have to cut it short. So, call the law Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kakwadash. And of course, once again, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, alright, who through the Spirit have taught all of us this truth, alright, and deserve double honors. Alright, so with that, Shalom.